Just a quick little reminder for women. One, lock your doors. And two, block men on social media who may have formed like parasocial relationships with you. Let me explain. I know this is not a unique experience as a woman. We all have the men who have been like talking to themselves in our DMs. I'm sure a man has popped into your mind already. So let me tell my little story. I have a neighbor who I categorize as a nice person. We've lived in close proximity for about 3 years. Every now and then he'll respond to like a story I post on Instagram. Like I'll get little heart eyes or things like that. And not responding to a man is like an indirect form of rejection. Like if you do that so many times, I'm sure that will bother you. But this is my neighbor. Most of our interactions revolve around neighbor things, like things going on in the building. Can I borrow this? Can I borrow that? Like very neighborly. So that's the extent of our relationship. That's how it's been for 3 years. Maybe 2-3 weeks ago, he sends me a TikTok of like DC restaurants. When he sent me this, I said, why did you send me this? Because I was confused. And he was like, oh, you just popped up in my mind. Like you were the first person I thought of. I was like, oh, did you want to go check one out? And he was like, yeah. I'd like, okay, I'd be down. Let's go. And then he said, oh, you just want a free meal. Immediately, no. I was like, oh, never mind. No, thank you. Like, I just shut it down. And he was like, oh, I was just kidding. And I just didn't respond because at this point, not interested at all. So that's like 2 weeks ago. Fast forward to last week. I was coming home from my friend's birthday dinner and I saw him in the parking lot. And he's headed out and he was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, we just had like a little neighborly like exchange. How are you? La, la, la. I go inside. The next day he texts me and he's like, what are you doing? It's like 3 p.m. I was like, just chilling. He was like, oh, we should kick it later. And I was like, okay. Like, in my head, I'm not thinking anything nefarious. Like, this is just my neighbor. Cool. 8 o'clock comes around, 8:30 maybe. And he's like, what are you doing? Again, I'm not really thinking about this like kicking it situation. I was like, oh, I'm chilling, just got off the phone with my mom. Like, I was really about to watch the State of the Union address. Like, that's what I was preparing for. And he was like, something about like being out right now, would I wait up for him? I didn't respond right away because my immediate thought was no, I will not do that. And then I told him, I was like, oh, I'm getting sleepy. And he was like, can I Uber you to where I am? I'm at a networking event. And I was like, oh, I already did my skincare. PJs are on, not leaving. And he was like, okay, well, then I'm coming through to your crib. So I said very assertively, I was like, you are not. And he was like, well, this is the second time you flaked on me. Me personally can't remember the first time, but okay. At this point, it was like 11:30, 12:30, which is late for me, but I was only up because I was watching the State of the Union, which was really long. And then I watched Abigail Spanberger's response, which was also quite long. So I stayed up later than I normally do. My last message I sent to him was like 12:30 a.m. I go to sleep. 2 a.m., I like wake up out of my sleep because I can hear somebody at my door, like jiggling my door handle and just like in the hallway. Mind you, we live on the same floor. Like he knows where I live. I know where he lives. Cool. Not cool. Not cool. But being woken up out of your sleep like that, that's the first time that's ever happened to me. I was scared. I was really scared. I reached for my phone. My first thought was, let me call my mom, which I don't know why, because my mom lives over an hour away and I don't know what I thought she was going to do, but that was my first thought. Let me call my mom. But my phone is in like sleep mode, so I'm not getting my notifications and texts like normal. When I picked up my phone, I saw that I had, at this point, maybe like 5 or 6 missed calls from my neighbor. And I had 2 text messages that said, I'm knocking on your door. I'm going to knock on your door. So now I have a little bit of peace of mind because I know who's at my door. I know it's not like a burglar. Like that was like my first thought. But now I'm like annoyed because like I already told you, like, no, I'm going to sleep another time, leave me alone. And I told you no several times. And then it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you are now at my door. My neighbor would continue to call me from 2:22 a.m. to 3:35 a.m. He called me 15 times in that time span. I wasn't able to go to sleep from I didn't go to sleep till like probably like 5 o'clock in the morning because I was just like on edge. I was really anxious. Finally go to sleep. The next day, I was like digesting all of this. How am I going to approach this situation? What am I going to say to my neighbor that made me extremely uncomfortable in my own home? And he texts me. He says, my bad, LOL. But that's the second time you faked on me. what? And that just wasn't enough for me. So I carry on about my day. I think I posted like my breakfast or something on Instagram. And then he responds to my Instagram story and says, text back the fuck. Men do not speak to me like that. So even like in a joking sense, like my friends, nothing. We don't carry on like that. So as soon as he said that shit, I got mad. Like saw red. All the grace I had been thinking to give him, like, oh, maybe he was drunk, it's like 2 a.m. All that went out the window. And I just messaged him. I was like, I don't know where you got this sense of entitlement from to me and my time. And then I just swiftly blocked him across all platforms and blocked his number. And yeah, if you are directly or indirectly rejecting men, I think it's in everybody's best interest to remove them so they don't have access to you. And make sure your doors are locked.
Can we just take a second to talk about the absolute sheer audacity of some people? I know so many women watching this are aggressively nodding their heads right now because the nice guy neighbor trope is so incredibly real. She lived next to this guy for 3 years. 3 years of just borrowing sugar and saying hi in the hallway, and the second she politely declines an invitation, he completely flips the script. Notice how he tries to guilt trip her with the, "This is the second time you flaked on me" line? Sir, she never agreed to go anywhere with you in the first place. And then, 2 a.m. Hearing your door handle jiggle in the middle of the night is literally straight out of a horror movie. 15 missed calls in an hour? That is not a crush. That is an obsession. Ugh, I am so glad she blocked him and locked her doors. Honestly, let this be a massive reminder that you do not owe anyone your time, your space, or your politeness, especially when they make you feel unsafe. Speaking of situations where you feel completely trapped and confused, let's shift gears from a creepy apartment hallway to a brightly lit, middle-of-the-day Walmart, because apparently you aren't even safe in the produce section.
My name is Giselle, wrote into Spooky Serious Storytime, and she was like, I had a really creepy experience with what I think was a creature, or at least a non-human entity, at a Walmart in Deltona, Florida. It gets really weird. So she said it was like 2 p.m. on a weekday, and she likes going to that Walmart neighborhood market because it's in a shopping plaza where she gets food, she gets her pedicures, and then she goes to Walmart and she does all her grocery shopping. So she does her normal errands, then she goes to Walmart and she starts in the produce section. Taking her time, she's making a little day of it. She picks up bananas, garlic, spinach, and then she makes her way over to grab some onions. And after she grabs the onions, she turns toward the apples and she notices that there's this man staring at a green apple, and he's very tall, he's very heavy set, and he has absolutely no hair. And that's not that weird in itself. Some people have alopecia. I never tell a story just because someone looked weird, right? But she said he had no hair, no eyebrows, no body hair. His skin was as smooth as a baby's, and he was also overwhelmingly pale. He wore all black clothing, which stood in stark contrast to his skin. And he's standing there holding a green apple. I got an apple. I have a prop for this video, and he's holding it like this, and he's examining it in the light, and he's turning it back and forth. And then she notices his left eye, because it's about 3 times the size of his right eye. It's completely black, and it seems to be protruding out of his face. And so she's standing there like, I've never seen a man that looks like this in my life. And she's looking around to see if anyone's staring at him, and she notices nobody's paying him any attention. She's standing there for a couple minutes, and he's still just examining this apple, just turning it back and forth, looking at it up and down, trying to figure out what's going on with it. And finally she gets curious and she walks over to him. Thought he maybe just had some medical issues, but she was genuinely curious what his fascination was with this apple. So she walks over to him and she says something like, haha, I always thoroughly examine my produce too. And he looks at her for a second, and then he looks around and he goes, are you talking to me? And she goes, yeah. And he gets like giddy and he's smiling ear to ear. And she said his features seemed too large for his face, but she thought that maybe that was just because he was a very large man. Because as she started speaking to him, she noticed that his left eye, the one that was protruding from his face, had this like inky depth to it that sort of swirled around, and it made her feel comfortable. It made her feel like he was harmless. And he says, what are you here shopping for? She says, oh, just my normal groceries. What are you here for? And he said, nothing really. I'm just here looking around. And she thought that was kind of weird, but she's like, how much weirder could this interaction get? And she goes, well, I've pretty much gotten everything I need from this section, so I'm going to go have a good day. And he goes, can I walk with you? She said nothing about this man made her feel threatened whatsoever. It was the middle of the day. There's a ton of other people around. She's like, sure. So she starts walking through the store. He starts eating his apple, and he starts asking her all kinds of questions. He says, how much fruit do you eat? And then he says, this apple is delicious. And she says, yeah, apples are really good. And he says, do you like the sun? Do you go out in the sun a lot? He goes, yeah, I guess so. We live in Florida. And he said, interesting. Do all Walmarts have the same layout? And she goes, I don't know. He asks how old she is, and she says, I'm 22, which is how old she was at the time. And she thought really at this point that he just wanted somebody to talk to, that maybe he was just lonely. And she goes, how old are you? Just to be polite, And he says, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. It struck her as odd because he didn't look that old to her, but then he says, where have I seen you before? And she goes, we've never met before. And she's like thinking, trust me, I would remember. He goes, are you sure? No, we've met before. And that started to creep her out. They're still walking aisle to aisle. She's grabbing things she needs, and he's still asking her a ton of odd questions. And she starts to notice that everyone around her is staring. Like, they're stopping and staring. And she goes, this is so rude. Like, who stares at someone that they don't know like this? Starts to feel oddly protective of him, and they're still just talking back and forth. And finally they get to like a cooler section, and she's grabbing some frozen things she needs, and she notices this family, and they all stop and they're just looking at her. Then she became aware that people were staring at her, not the man. So she's like, is there something on my face? So she leans in the cooler door to see if there's something on her face, and when she backs up, she realizes that there's no reflection of whoever she's talking to. She turns around and the man is still standing to her left. She looks back in the reflection of the cooler and only sees her own reflection. She turns back to the man, and he's smiling, and he says, what's wrong? That she actually blinked her eyes a few times to make sure that she wasn't just like imagining things. But the man standing there, solid as can be, leaned up against the cooler door, and she's like, I have to get out of here. So she's like, I think I've got everything I need. Like, I'm gonna head to check out. And he's like, cool, I'll walk with you. So she's walking to check out, and as she reaches the checkout line, she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna get out of here. I hope you have a good day. Do you have any plans? And he says, can I get your phone number? She says, no, I'm sorry, I don't give my number out to strangers. And she's still aware that there's people standing around her watching her. He just says, okay, and he watches her go to the checkout line and start putting her things on the belt. And she's going through checkout, and she's still kind of keeping an eye on him, and he's standing at the front of the checkout line. But she said she wanted to see if he would walk out of Walmart, but he didn't. He just stood there watching her as she checked out. So she goes to pay, and when she looks back after paying, he's gone. Walks out of the Walmart, quickly walks to her car. She's kind of keeping an eye behind her the whole time to make sure that he's not following her. She gets in her car and she locks the doors, and she realizes that 3 hours have passed, and she's like, I only got like 8 items. So how could that much time have passed? I couldn't have been in there for more than 45 minutes. That she experienced a range of emotions, but she ultimately decided that she had nothing to do and she was curious about this man. So she drives her car a little bit closer to the entrance, and she's watching the door. She parks her car. She's eating her bag of veggie straw. She said she sat there for an hour waiting for him to walk out because she was just curious. She wanted to see where he went, but he never came out. So eventually she's like, I'm going to go back in and see if I can find him. So she walks in, she makes her way through the aisles, but she can't find him again. She said she felt very confused and conflicted. She wanted answers more than anything, like who was he? Where did he go? But eventually she came back out and she realized the sun was setting and she had an awful feeling in her stomach. So she just drove home and stayed in for the rest of the night. That happened in 2017, but to this day, she still thinks about it because she can't find any answers. She's like, I wonder if it looked like I was walking around Walmart talking to myself, because why wouldn't he have had a reflection? What was up with his eye? Why did I feel some sort of comfort when I looked into it? And why did he say that he knew me from somewhere? She said that's her normal Walmart. She has been there multiple times since 2017 when this happened, and she's never seen that man again. That was her real name. I'm not sure if she's going to be in the comments or not. Let her know your thoughts.
Okay, so I am trying to wrap my head around this. Shh. You were just minding your own business, picking out some apples, and you see a guy with no hair, skin as smooth as a baby, dressed in all black, holding a green apple like he's never seen fruit before. I mean, it's Florida, so maybe that's just a Tuesday, right? But then she notices the eye. One eye is 3 times larger than the other and entirely black. Now, a normal person would walk away. But human curiosity is a wild thing, isn't it? She actually goes up to him. The craziest part to me isn't even the weird questions he asks her about the sun or the layout of the store. It's the cooler door reflection. She looks in the glass, and he has no reflection. None. And then she loses 3 hours of time. Listen, I don't know if this was a glitch in the Matrix, an extraterrestrial just trying to figure out how Earth grocery stores work, or something paranormal. But the fact that she sat in her car eating veggie straws, waiting for him to come out, girl, you are braver than me. I would have abandoned the cart and moved to a different state. Alright, so alien encounters at Walmart are wild, but you know what else is absolutely mind-blowing? The things people try to hide behind huge mansions, massive paychecks, and non-disclosure agreements.
I used to nanny for a family that liked to party, if you know what I mean. I found this family through people I used to babysit for on the weekend. They say, I have some friends looking for a temporary nanny, 3 months. Very wealthy, will pay you a lot of money. I said, okay, let's do it. I said, where do they live? You know, tell me a little bit more. She was like, well, they're all the way up high in the Hollywood Hills. They do like to party. So sometimes, you know, the weekends get a little crazy, but they're looking for a daytime nanny, so that shouldn't affect you at all. I said, okay, give her my contact. The mom calls me a couple of days later of the new family, and she's like, hi, you know, my friend told me about you. I trust her 100%. So it's like, if you just want to come and do a trial and, you know, I get to meet you at the house, that'd be great. This is great. She's like, let me tell you a little bit about my family. My husband works from home. I work from home. So neither one of us will be seen during the day, really. We do have 2 other nannies. We have an evening nanny, we have a weekend nanny. We also have a driver, we have a chef, we have a housekeeper, we have a house manager, we have an estate manager, and we also have a laundress. I had to Google what a laundress was. That's a person that just handled the laundry. So all day long, there was no laundry in their house because there was somebody always washing the laundry, which I thought was cool. But anyway, she was like, we live all the way up in the hills, pretty high. So if you want, we can send you a car for the trial. Because people get lost and you also lose reception. So we want to make sure that you get here safely. But what I heard was me and my friend were trying to traffic you. So I said, I'm going to drive my own car, if that's okay. And she was like, yes, perfectly fine. I was just trying to make sure, you get here, no worries. So I'm like, I'm blown. My mind's blown. We set up the trial for a couple of days later. I drive my car, did indeed lose reception. But house is immaculate. It's an estate, let me say. It has to be over 10,000 square feet. Huge ass house. And so I walk in, the mom's there, the little boy's there. She's like, welcome. Can I get you anything right away? I'm like, no, I'm okay. She was like, okay. So the evening nanny walks out and she's like, this is my name. And the house manager walks out and she's like, this is my name. And she's like, the house manager's like, basically, I am your point person. Anything you need, you will come to me. If it's for like a payment, if the child needs any clothes, or definitely come to me for like the weekly schedule for the food, because I have to go grocery shopping for that, and I have to give that to the chef to make sure it's prepared for the boy when he's ready to eat. I said, okay, y'all going straight for the gusto. Y'all ain't wasting no time. Okay. So I'm just like, okay, this all sounds very good. And so the mom's like, I just need to add, I forgot to tell you on the phone, you have to be a team player. You and the other 2 nannies, sometimes we will ask that you change shifts because people just have different things to do. And so we want you to be flexible. I said, okay, that's chill. So they show me around. She's like, the evening nanny's going to take it away and she will, let me know what she thought about you, since she would be working more with them than you would be working with me. And I said, that's fair. So she's taking me around, showing me like what the little boy likes, what he don't like, where his snacks at. They had a little iPad thing where you can like put in the menu for the little boy, for the chef to cook the food in the kitchen. It was a crazy house, y'all. And so the trial day in, it goes perfect. The house manager sends me the contract. I'm like, I accept, okay? They give me the job. The first month goes good. Now we're here at the second month. That's when I found out that they get down with the white girl. And so we're at the house, and the weekend nanny comes up to me and she's like, hey, is it possible that you can take my Saturday shift and I can probably take your Friday shift because I have just something to do this weekend? And I said, okay, yeah, like, is anything different from how I do things during the week? She was like, the only big difference is that you will work into the night. So I normally work like 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. in the morning till like 4:35, something like that. She was like, so instead of working those early hours, you would start around 1 p.m. and you would get off around 10 or 11 p.m. And I said, that's a long day, deep into the night. And so she's like, yeah, and the vibes is different. Like, they do like hosting and having parties, but your job is to keep your eyes on the boy. You're not to be, scanning the room trying to figure out what they're doing. If the little kid runs to his parents, you let him run. You wait for them to either tell you to come to get the boy, or they'll send the boy back to you. But you're to never walk into their affairs to grab the boy. And I said, okay, this sounded strange, but continue. I only got 1 month left, so it really didn't even matter. So I'm like, okay, I could do that. And she was like, things do get wild. That's all I'm going to say. And she said, did you sign an NDA? I said, I did not sign an NDA. And then she just kind of looked at me like, you did it? And I was like, no. Did you? And she just didn't even answer the question. So I'm guessing she did sign an NDA. But I see why they should have had me sign an NDA. So, sorry, my phone cut off. So anyway, we're at Saturday. I'm on my way in. They have people coming in to loud ass plane. They having people coming in to set up for an event, which she said would probably happen. And one thing about me, I know a drug deal when I see one. And so the man that came in to talk to the dad, he got his hood on, headphones in like this, hood tatted. He go in just for a couple of minutes and come out. He's like, all right, thank you. And he's like, thank you. And he walk out, and it's me. They getting ready for the party. But anyway, so they like go upstairs and get the little boy ready for the event. I said, okay, what should he wear? They was like, we trust your judgment. Just something like nice. It's just a nice casual event. I said, okay, cool. I dress him. We come back down. The little boy's just kind of running around. I'm running around with him. They have like toys and stuff out, so we're playing. He wanted to get in the pool, so randomly had to change out of my clothes to get in the pool with him as people are like here setting up around the pool. And I said, I guess he lives here. So it was like 6 couples. So 12, 14 people counting the people that I worked for. Everybody's having a good time, a good cordial time. Like everybody's drinking their champagne, they're talking, and all of a sudden when the dad come downstairs, like a couple people at a time, they'll walk away, they'll come back, and then everybody's just like, and I'm like, now I know when y'all playing with the white girl, I know that. I've seen it too many times living in LA. And so next minute I know they just like, oh, it's so hot in here. Like, it's so hot in here. Like they had a DJ. The DJ was playing like, like cool music, like nothing too crazy. And they're like, play something we can dance to. Hell yeah. Like they start, and like they, oh my God, I'm so hot. They get to taking their shirts off. I'm just looking. And then I remember the girl said, you don't look. You just here for the little boy. And so I'm like I'm looking at what's going on so hard. I don't even know where the little boy yet. So I snap out of it. And I'm just like, I find a little boy that he, again, keeps running back and forth to his parents. His parents don't have a shirt on because, they're doing their thing. And I'm just like, oh my God. And so like, as the night is progressing, I'm like, please come on 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, like whatever time I can go home. And so what the fuck is this? And so finally it was time for me to go. And when I say I jetted up out that Joan because I'm like, if this is weird at 10, I can imagine what it's going to be like at 1 o'clock because they up all night. But yeah, and then, I feel like all the parties was pretty much like that in a sense where they're sweating, want to take their clothes off. At one point, they even jumped in the pool, like fully clothed though. They're like, oh my God, it's so hot, let's jump in the pool. That was a whole different night. But like the same setup where it's like everything is so elegant and nice whole time, y'all crackheads. But yeah, that was that. And I enjoyed it. They paid me a lot of money. I wrapped up my 3 months. They left. I left. They was happy. I was happy. And hell, can't go wrong.
This is exactly why I always say the ultra wealthy live in an entirely different reality than the rest of us. Imagine walking into a house that requires a house manager, an estate manager, 2 other nannies, a chef, and a laundry. I didn't even know a laundry was a job title. But it's all smoke and mirrors, isn't it? Because beneath this incredibly polished high-end lifestyle is just pure chaos. She gets asked to work a night shift. They tell her to just keep her eyes on the boy and ignore everything else. Next thing you know, a guy in a hood with tattoos is walking in for a quick chat with the dad. We all know what that means. And suddenly, all these elegant, wealthy adults are sweating, taking their clothes off, and jumping into the pool fully clothed. It is actually terrifying to think about the environment that little kid is growing up in. But I love how the nanny handled it. She got her bag, minded her own business, kept the kid safe, and got out of there after 3 months. Secure the bag, but protect your peace, always. Okay, escaping a house full of out-of-control adults is one thing, but there is absolutely no escape when the person you are trying to outsmart is your own mother. Prepare yourselves for this one.
So basically, story time on how my mom, I didn't think she could speak English because my entire life I would literally translate for her, but it turns out she knew every word I was saying. So So basically the backstory is like there was this time I was supposed to go to McDonald's with one of my friends, but last minute her mom was like, no, you can't go, da da da. Anyways, I'm used to it, whatever. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna walk to McDonald's by myself. It was like a skip away. This was middle school, right? So basically as I'm walking to McDonald's, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get like half of the menu, don't even play, right? Mind you, I only have like $7 like with me in coins, bro. So as I'm walking into McDonald's, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get this and that and this and that and that. And when it was time to pay, I realized I bit off a little bit more than I could chew, and I was so sad and stressed. I was like, yeah, you can take off the large fries, take away the milkshake, keep the nuggets, but make it like a 4-pack, right? And then there were these 3 girls behind me. One went to the bathroom, right? But the other 2 were like, oh wait, like, do you need help paying, we'll pay for you. And I was like, oh my gosh, really? Like, will you really do that? There's a lot on this menu, girl. And they were like, yeah, like, we'll pay for you, no problem. So they paid for me, right? And I'm thinking that was that, you know, it was a good deed. Angels were on my side, Allah had my back, right? No, those girls were like, oh, do you want to just eat with us since you're alone already? And they looked like my age range, and I've seen them before, so I was like, okay, yeah, I bet, like, it doesn't even matter, like, don't play. So, you know, we're all eating, whatever. I'm devouring my meal like I pay for it. I promise you. As we're eating, the other girl comes back and she's like, oh, we should all get to know each other, right? Honestly, my parents always told me about stranger danger, whatever, all of that, and I firmly believed it. But the thing is, I didn't care because they were all girls and they were just nice or whatever. So I was like, oh, there's like, what's the worst that could happen, right? So, you know, we're chopping it up, and then push comes to shove or whatever. They literally asked for my phone number, and then I'm like, okay, but I'll give it to you guys. And then I learned like what school they went to, what grades they were in, and I was like, oh my gosh, new buddies, don't play. Like, back then, making friends, it was not easy. Like, so boom, basically, you know, I go home, we're all saying bye to each other. I learned where they lived, and then that night I was just texting, and my mom was like, Noodle, like, what are you doing on your phone? Why are you so attached to it? And I was like, oh, I was just looking at a video, you know, Nora's Nuts updated, don't play. But basically, yeah, like the night comes and they're telling me about plans, they're telling me about like things they want to do, yada yada. So that's basically the backstory, right? So boom, one day they texted me and they're like, oh, can you like meet us at like McDonald's? It'll be really quick, like we just have something to tell you, right? And I had nothing better to do, so I was like, okay, bet, like let me go get ready. I didn't even tell my mom or anything. I just started getting ready. Like, girl, this is not how it works. So boom, you know, I'm getting ready. I'm like, okay, bet, you know, let me grab a coat. I know it's raining outside, it's a little cold, whatever. So as I'm getting ready to go, my mom's like, hold on, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go see so and so. And they were like, she was like, you're not gonna go, sit down. And I'm like, mommy, no, like I need to go, this is important. And she's like, how important can it be? It's literally raining, I don't know these people, I don't know where you're going, yada yada yada. And I was like, no, I'm going to so and so's house, knowing very well I wasn't like at all. And she was like, okay, let me take you and take your little sister too. And I was like, girl, first of all, if you come, no, and second of all, I can't take my little sister, she's about to ruin these plans. I know what they're about to tell me, it's like confidential, right? So she's like, it's okay, it's either you take your little sister or you're gonna stay home. And I just know she can't keep up with me. The way I pedal, I'm gonna be zooming, right? And it's literally raining, so I don't even want her there. So I'm like, okay, with Damietta. And she's like, okay, good, with Damietta. Boom, I'm texting in the group chat, right? And I'm like, OMG, my mom won't let me go. And they're like, it's okay, we can just FaceTime. And I'm like, oh my gosh, bro, like, do they think I'm slow? Like, I'm literally at home with literally everybody. And I know you guys are messy, so no, we can't FaceTime. So boom, I was like, oh, like, do you guys want to text? And they were like, no, let's just FaceTime. It's okay, it's gonna be really quick, right? So I was like, no, like, I can't do it, guys. Like, you guys don't understand. And they're like, what's the worst that can happen? And then I was like, oh, wait, FaceTime me tomorrow, because I know my daddy's gonna be at work, so we're gonna have a little bit more free time. So boom, the next day comes, they're FaceTiming me, and the only person that's awake at the time is my mom, right? So we're all like in the living room, like it's me, my phone, and then my mom. And then basically they're like, okay, Noodle, like, are you ready? This is what we want to say. And I'm like, yeah, spill it, right? Mind you, my mom's next to me the entire time, but I didn't know she could speak English. I didn't know, because literally growing up, whenever I spoke English, she'd be like, so boom, basically they were like, yeah, we just want to tell you that there's gonna be a fight soon, Anyways, I heard fight, I was like, oh, what's a tea? Like, what do you mean fight, you know? Like, it was so So basically they were like, yeah, the person that we're gonna fight, it was basically that one girl that went to the bathroom that one time. I thought she was cool. Honestly, I didn't even see a problem with her, but they were like, yeah, she's annoying them, and basically they just needed a cameraman, whatever, to film while they were hugging anyways, as long as I'm not in the fight, right? So boom, they were like, yeah, we're gonna do this, that, and the third to her. Mind you, my mom is right there. So what's it called, they were like, basically they were like, yeah, we're gonna drag her, we're gonna beat her up, F her, flip her, and I'm like, ooh, the tea is getting hot. But what's it called, I didn't know that my mom could understand it, right? So as they're saying it, they're like, okay, so we need like premium angles, like if we're on the floor, you need to get on the floor and go like this, and I'm telling them, I'm glazing them, bro. I'm like, yeah, I got you, like whatever happens, I'm gonna be there, this, that, and the third, as long as you guys don't drag me in it, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna even be there early, don't even play, I'm gonna be there before the fight starts. I was talking about, oh, I have popsicles, everybody pick a flavor, I'm gonna bring it, girl. Oh my gosh, I'm just cooked, slow and cooked. And so basically I was done talking, like on the call. My mom was like, who are they? And I was like, oh, just my friends, you know, whatever, something slight. And then she kept on asking questions. I was like, girl, did you hear something? So she was like, what type of friends? Like, what are their names, you know? And so since she didn't know those friends, I had to say friends that like she already knew of and friends that she like low-key respected, right? So I said their names and she was like, oh, that didn't sound like their voices. And I was like, yeah, they're just a little sick, like, you know, like life happens. And then she was like, oh, what were you guys planning on doing? Like, why was she willing? Like, why was she screaming, right? And I was like, oh, she was just screaming at her little sister. Like, I'm just lying to her face, right? And she's like, so like, what are you guys gonna do? And I was like, mommy, and then we're just gonna study, like, next we're gonna study. I think it was like a Thursday. I was like, next Thursday, yeah, I'm gonna go to their house and study. And she's like, okay, with the good luck, inshallah, with my duel, girl, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. So anyways, boom, you know, like the day it finally comes, low-key all week I was like, oh, let me like text the girl, but when I went to go text her, she blocks me. So I was like, okay, like whatever, like if you want to get dragged, bro, let it get dragged. I knew there was something off about you. I just knew it. JK, I actually didn't know, like she was actually really nice, but whatever. Anyways, the next day it comes, and then I'm taking like my bike out of like the backyard, and I'm like, okay, bye mommy, like I'm gonna go now. And she's like, why do you have a Kroger bag? Mind you, the Kroger bag, it's full of like the popsicles that I promised I would bring. I had to make it back home in a time crunch, right? basically as I'm going out, I realized that my bike didn't, like the tire, it was low-key popped, and I knew that was gonna happen, but I just didn't know like it was gonna be today, you know? So I had to leave it at home, and then I decided I would just take my little sister's scooter. It was like kind of short, but it wasn't that bad. Like it wasn't that bad. So basically I'm taking it, right? I'm zooming off. I finally make it to like their neighborhood, and they're like, oh my gosh, like are you ready to film? What took you so long? I thought you said you were gonna be early. Girl, I literally had some difficulties, okay? The scooter, it was like to my hip or something, like it was kind of short. So as I was scooting, I was like low-key hunchbacked, right? But I needed to get there on time, and I knew my language just, it wouldn't do the trick. So boom, you know, I get there, whatever, and then they're like, oh, okay, can you start by filming? And as I'm filming, right, I low-key kind of just sense something, and I'm like, huh, this is really strange. Like, this is so weird. Like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. But, you know, a fight is a fight. I want to see first-class seats, bro. I'm like, this. I'm like, baby, this is not lumber. This is, like, real life, like, hub, bro, a hub. So, boom, what's it called? They're starting, right? And then in a little slight little voice I hear with the hub, I'm like, what type of boy? I didn't say that, and I'm the only person in this group that can have player. So who was that, right? I'm scared out of my mind. I remember as I was like pushing like the scooter to go to their place, bro, I kept on looking back to make sure that my mom wasn't behind me, or anybody I knew wasn't behind me, because I was up to bunny no good. Guys, I'm literally squinting, okay? Like, I'm literally downplaying how bad I was looking. I kept on going up and down with my glasses. I was like, am I tweaking? Like, am I cool, right? But I just concluded that I just heard it because I was paranoid the whole entire time going there, right? And then, what's it called? Me ewi good, bro. Me ewi good. Me ewi do asmano ala haidara. Me ewi kitty lady. Oh, it was only litter on the ground. Last time I checked cigarette butts, wow, I had it like overly cooked, right? So I'm like, oh, it was all in my head, right? My friends were talking about, why are your hands shaky? Take a video, we're about to start, right? And then we hear it again, but this time I hear no. I'm like, what type of footage, bro? Boom, I'm looking around. I'm looking at trees, bro. I'm looking at like the shrubs on the ground. I'm thinking like, bro, like it's from Allah. Like is bro, he's sending his yumba down. Like, baby, I'm cooked. Hende is my last meal I'm on this earth. Like, I'm cooked. Anyways, as I'm like squinting over to look again, my friends are like, what was that? What was the noise? What was that sound? Da, da, da. Baby, I already know it's my mom. I'm just trying to locate where she is at this point, right? She's talking about haba, heb o camera, what dum less, what cell phone or less, what cell phone less, Johnny Aran Yehen, I'm literally hearing her voice, but I can't see her, right? So I'm looking around. I'm like, what type of button? Where is she at? I look at the tree like one more time. I like assumed it was a branch, so I kept on looking. Girl, smack dab in the middle was a blue and pink melfit. I know I'm overly cooked. She saw me with my buddy. I got, bro, I'm cooked. So boom, I do what I do best. I run. What's it called? Their like apartment complex, it looks identical to each other, right? All the girls start running. I drop the phone, I start running. So the girl, she low-key had to go back and get her phone. I'm talking about, bro, I knew exactly where their crib was because I was there like a trillion times. So boom, I start running. She had like a flight of stairs. And as I look back, because low-key, even though I was running, I was looking out for the rest of the girls, right? I see one of the girls, she's taking like a shorter passageway, I don't know, but as I start running like up the stairs, I see my mom just walking towards us. Like she's just chill, she's walking, but she has a pep in her step, right? So I'm pushing the girls upstairs. I'm asking her, I'm screaming, I'm like, is it gonna take faster if we take the elevator or like the stairs? She's like, go up the stairs and turn left. So that's exactly what I do. I think I went up like a flight, like 3 flights of stairs or something, and then instead of turning left, because I really didn't know my left and my rights, I only learned my left and my rights when I had this like on my finger. That's how like I learned. I was like, oh, this is my left because it looks a little weird, and then my right it looks regular, right? Long story, I can't even talk about it right now. Basically, yeah, boom, I was like, yeah, I turned like right instead of left or something like that, and then what's it called, I had to like relocate myself back again. I'm like, choo, 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 choo. All the apartments look like each other, okay? I can only see the one girl that we were supposed to fight. I can only see her. And boom, she opens her door, she closes it. I'm like, please let me in, please, please, please. She's like, no, you guys want to fight me? You guys want to jump me? Like, F you, da, da, da. I'm like, no, girl, I was just gonna film it, but if it got too far, like, I was gonna mediate, you know? Like, I was gonna pull you back. And she was like, stop lying to me. I know how you, you're literally lying, da, da, da. And I'm like, no, I'm not lying, please let me in. As I look to my right, bro, I don't know where she spawned from. My mom is right there. She's like, Nuru, Aragai, John. I'm like, mommy, no, please. I'm just praying. I'm praying, bro. I pray, Ofita Kamdoyu, bro. I'm praying she leaves that for home. I'm praying, bro. So boom, she's like, Aragai, John, right? I'm like, mommy, yeah, I feel like this wasn't me. I go to me no huli and under their yumba dara. She's like, Wupoko Fentako and Andi their yumba de bandis, they're your besties, like basically, right? Basically, I'm like the girl that we like were supposed to jump. I was gonna jump her, you know, like I don't have it in me, but I low-key was gonna film her, right? She would not open the door. She was talking about go to your own house. I hope your mom beats you up. She's talking a lot of nasty things. I'm crying. I'm like, please let me in. I'm gonna share my popsicles with you. I'm gonna do everything. She's like, I don't want your crusty popsicles. You're musty as flip. I don't want your stuff. So boom, I'm crying outside of the apartment, right? Like she's dragging me down. I'm crying. I'm like, cause I'm really sad. Like I'm like, what type of, like, I'm so depressed. You don't understand. So she's like, Nungu scooter and don't ride it. And since she was walking so fast because she was so mad, bro, I started scooting behind her, and she dragged me out of the scooter, and she's like, Atugai mi nangaru. And she, like, as she was holding the scooter, I was like walking right next to her, so she's walking like this, and the scooter is like right here, and I'm like right here, and the scooter, it keeps like hitting my ankle, like, girl. So I keep on lipping. I'm like, and she's like, so I saw what he doom said, Arsi Gales and Hani Bama, Hande de Mama, Hande Mama. And I'm like, no, please, mommy, like, these people, I was just possessed by Satan. Like, this is not me. I'm miskin, bro. This is not me. So boom, basically after that, we barely make it home, but she was walking me like a dog, woof, like, bruh, I probably had to call her for a good 45 minutes, bro. Like, I'm not gonna even lie, it was not that far. 45 is crazy. Maybe like I don't know, like 15, I don't know. But basically, I was so depressed, and it's like, I couldn't even believe she caught me, right? So, as when we went home, she was like, asikimi anda haidara, asikimi ko kaga, right? All my siblings are literally sitting at the couch, so they're like, Noodle, what happened, what happened? Well, to this day, I couldn't fold, I couldn't tell them what happened, because basically, I remember she was like, فحبا ارت so ارتي ما هب كبوني برا, and when ارتي ما هبي كبوني, like she stood on her word, whatever. But yeah, I just like safe to say, I didn't know she could speak English. She was talking about me nanny everything and hali me nanny do and kaga dero come to we come to my gang or depo we ay mama army film mama and then I was like, mommy, no, like that was a skit. That was just like, that was AI, mommy. I would never do that. Like I would never do that. And she was like, Noodle, what fenta ko I want you to sub the and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm cut, like my parents literally hate me. Oh my goodness. And then basically at the end, she was like, at the cell phone ma, at the computer ma. I had like a Chromebook. I used to play Roblox on that. It was like school issue, but I never did like my schoolwork, right? So I used to be playing Roblox. I used to be watching videos, Netflix, Disney Plus, all of that, right? So basically she's like, at the fifth, Jordan, they got a book ma, obviously you need it. And then they switched my phone to like an Obama phone, and I never, like, genuinely, I never saw my phone again. This was like a little after that one story I was talking about, like how they gave me an Obama phone because I listened to Murder on My Mind. It was literally like a few months after that, bro, a few events after that, I genuinely never saw my phone again for like a good 2 years, bro. Yeah, like in conclusion, safe to say I didn't know my mom could speak English. Like my entire life I would literally translate for her whatever she needed. I would be there. I'd be like, oh, she said this, that, and the third. We would be at parent teacher conferences, meetings, bro, and they used to be like, yeah, so your daughter doesn't listen, she never stays in her seat, she talks a lot, and she'd be like, and I used to be like, oh, basically, mommy, they're just glazing me, and she used to take it. So I don't know, like overnight, if she learned, or like she was listening so much that she learned, but you know, I just never gave her any hope. I never even gave her any like space to hell or whatever. Whenever we were at like a store, I would be like, oh, do you know where like the green beans are, or something like that, you know? Like I used to always speak for her, so I never knew she knew English. I never knew.
I am literally crying. This is the greatest plot twist in the history of parenting. For her entire life, she thought her immigrant mom didn't speak a word of English. She translated at parent-teacher conferences. She translated at the grocery store. She was basically running her own PR campaign to her mom. And then the middle school fight happens. She's on FaceTime right next to her mom, hyping up this fight, offering to bring popsicles, talking about getting the premium camera angles. And her mom is just sitting there, absorbing all the tea. The moment she heard her mom's voice while she was hiding in the bushes at the apartment complex. Oh my God. Camera woman! I would have evaporated on the spot. The fact that her mom marched her home like a dog on a leash while dragging her scooter, hitting her ankle. It's so funny, but honestly, massive respect to that mom. She played the long game. She weaponized the language barrier for over a decade just to have the ultimate surveillance on her kids. That is top-tier FBI level parenting right there. You know, after sitting here and going through all these wild stories, I can't help but notice a massive, undeniable thread tying all of this together. From the creepy guy in the apartment hallway, to the bizarre entity staring at apples in Walmart, to the ultra-wealthy Hollywood parents, and finally, the genius immigrant mother. At the core of every single one of these experiences is the incredible, often terrifying illusion of perception. We walk through life constantly assuming that what we see on the surface is the absolute truth, but humanity is inherently built on wearing masks. Remember when we saw the neighbor in the first story? He wore the mask of the nice guy. He used the social contract of being a neighbor, the casual waves, the small talk, the little Instagram likes, the Trojan horse to cross her boundaries. Society conditions women, in particular, to be accommodating. We are taught that ignoring a text from someone we know is rude, and we often prioritize politeness over our own primal instincts of safety. That entitlement, that sudden switch from friendly to aggressively jiggling a door handle at 2 a.m., perfectly illustrates how dangerous the nice mask can be when it slips. He assumed her politeness was access. She had to forcefully break that illusion to protect herself. Then we transition to the Hollywood nanny. Talk about the ultimate mask of wealth and prestige. You hear about an estate in the hills with a chef, a driver, and an estate manager, and you immediately associate that with stability, success, and high class. But behind those massive oak doors and non-disclosure agreements, it was just chaotic, unhinged behavior fueled by addiction. They literally bought their privacy. They bought a small army of staff, not just to manage their home, but to manage their secrets, creating a sanitized bubble for their child while the adults lost their minds in the living room. It proves that money doesn't erase dysfunction. It just gives it a much prettier, much more expensive hiding place. But what happens when the mask isn't just behavioral, but literal? That brings us to the bizarre guy at Walmart. That phrase the storyteller used, his left eye had this inky depth to it, really stuck with me. Why did she stay? Why did she approach a man who looked entirely out of place, who had no reflection in the glass? Because as humans, we are desperate to rationalize the irrational. We want to believe that there is a logical explanation. Maybe he has a medical condition, maybe he's just lonely. We try to humanize the uncanny valley because the alternative, that there are things walking among us that we fundamentally cannot understand, is far too terrifying to process on a random weekday afternoon in the produce section. And finally, we have the ultimate subversion of perception, the mother who faked not knowing English. This is, without a doubt, the most brilliant psychological operation I have ever heard. Society often underestimates immigrants, mistaking a language barrier for a lack of awareness or intelligence. This mother took that exact stereotype and weaponized it to her absolute advantage. She let her daughter believe she was the one in control, the one running the translations at the parent-teacher conferences. She let her kids build this false sense of security for years. And then at the exact right moment, she dropped the mask, pulled up to the middle school fight, and shattered her daughter's entire reality. It's hilarious, but it's also a profound reminder of how deeply we can underestimate the people closest to us. So, what is the core takeaway from all of this madness? Is that we need to stop taking things exactly at face value and start trusting our instincts a lot more. If a neighbor makes you uncomfortable, you don't owe him a smile. If an employer's house feels off, you just do your job and keep your distance. And if you think you are outsmarting your parents, trust me, you are not. They are always 3 steps ahead. What about you guys? Have you ever had a moment where someone's mask completely slipped and you realized they weren't who you thought they were? Let me know down in the comments because I read every single one. Stay safe out there, lock your doors, and I will see you in the next video.